Good evening, everyone. My name is Simon Bronnett. I'm the Head and Dean of Sydney Law School, and it's my privilege to welcome you here to Sydney Law School's annual prize-giving ceremony. It is also my privilege to acknowledge country. It is, for me, a privilege to do so, not least of all at this very important time in our history of our nation. We are obviously, this is the year of the referendum. We are approaching this weekend the beginning of the National Reconciliation Week. Sorry Day is coming. The real importance of fostering informed debate about the choices ahead falls heavily on all of us to listen and to learn. It's something that we teach our students, and I think it's a very important point to acknowledge. So I also typically acknowledge country in language. I was taught this by Professor Jackie Troy, Director of Indigenous Research at the university. Yini Kalawagan Mari Budiri Gadi Nurada, and it means we meet together on this beautiful Gadigal land. We acknowledge this, paying respects to elders past, present and emerging. The people of the Gadi, and if you don't know what a Gadi is, they're the amazing trees indigenous to this area. We have 3 of them actually in the Indigenous garden outside in the foyer, so if you have an opportunity to go there outside when you're enjoying your reception, take a moment to reflect on those 3 trees. It's estimated they're 130 years old, same age as our law school. So I think it's a reminder that this law school is located on the land of our First Nations people. It really is a very special evening. This week we have had our graduation. And in fact, some of you will be graduates and of both our LLB and JD program and other postgraduate degrees. I have to say it is really a joyous occasion to celebrate our graduates each year, and to do it in such a beautiful venue as the Great Hall in the old quad. To share and celebrate. But this event too is a little bit more intimate. It allows us also to acknowledge the wider achievements of our students. So I do think it's a very important function to celebrate success. I was reflecting with colleagues whether or not prize giving ceremonies occur in every faculty, and of course we have now mega faculties, and the law school is 1% of University of Sydney in terms of size. I know my colleagues tend to think we're large, but in the relative scale of the mega faculties, we're very small. I think one of the advantages of that is that we can still almost, well, I think we can get everyone in the room to celebrate prize giving. And I have to say it's a wonderful thing that we can do that tonight. So I welcome you to Sydney Law School. I welcome all the prize winners and scholarship recipients, and also the donors. Of course, donors are critical. Through the generations, Sydney graduates and others in the community have recognised the importance of acknowledging our students' excellence, and particularly creating opportunities for students maybe from different walks of life, from different places to come and study at this inspiring institution. So I feel it's really important not only to acknowledge those who are the beneficiaries, but those who are the donors. So welcome to the donors. We're very privileged also to have tonight a special address from Andreas Hager. Andreas is one of our distinguished alum, and he is the Executive Director of the New South Wales Bar Association. And I'll be inviting him in a moment to give his address. But let's tell you a little bit about him. Before he became the Executive Director of the New South Wales Bar Association, he worked in senior roles in the New South Wales Department of Justice and the Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet in Canberra. He attended Sydney Law School almost 20 years ago, 2003 to 2007. He has a Bachelor of Arts and a Bachelor of Law with first-class honours. He also, after graduating here, he enrolled and travelled to Oxford to complete the Bachelor of Civil Law with distinction. He was also a Rhodes Scholar. He's also a novelist. His first novel, Cooktown, was published in 2018. And he's also been a national level power rowing athlete. He is the father of 3 boys, and Andreas is vision impaired. He's legally blind. And I have to say, the level of challenge that you can experience in undertaking study in elite institutions, they may be inspiring in many ways, but as you can see, even from the perilous nature of the stairs in this auditorium, not always well set up for people who may be visually impaired. Of course, Sydney Law School had an inspiring dean, Ron McCallum, who was blind, and I think it, as Andreas will no doubt tell you, the inspiration of seeing amazing lawyers and academics like Ron McCallum played a big part in motivating him to pursue his legal studies here. So without anything further from me, I will invite Andreas to the podium. Thank you.
Good evening. Could I also acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, the traditional custodians of this land, and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging, and extend those respects to First Nations people joining us here tonight. Can I also thank Dean and Head of Sydney Law School, Professor Simon Bronnett, for the invitation to speak to you all, and acknowledge former High Court Justice the Honourable William Gummo ACKC, who's in the audience here tonight. To tonight's recipients, I want to start by saying a very big congratulations. It is no small thing to be here tonight receiving an award. You have performed extremely well among one of the brightest cohorts in Australia. You should be very proud, and your family and friends, I have no doubt, are extremely proud of you. This evening, I have 3 stories for you in the hope that you may find them useful. I attended Sydney Law School from 2003 to 2007, and like many of you, I suspect, I had an eye on where these 5 years of study were leading me. This was particularly so when interacting with the barristers who taught some of my subjects. They were at the pointy end of the practice of the law, and some of them were so very impressive on a human and an intellectual level. Peggy Dwyer, Miko Kumar, and His Honour Justice Leeming, who joined the academic staff to provide an outstanding teaching group. But at the time, Sydney Law School felt like something of a conveyor belt to the big firms, and I didn't think I wanted that. So from 3rd year, I volunteered at the Aboriginal Legal Service, the Disability Discrimination Legal Centre, and the Public Defender's Office. I liked evidence and criminal law, and I was ready to do a district court associateship at the coalface of the criminal law, and then hopefully start practice at the ODPP or legal aid. But over the summer after my 4th year, something changed. While I was doing a clerkship at the Public Defender's Office, I found myself increasingly frustrated. In legal practice, I could help one client, and sometimes that was great, but often it wasn't great. I was increasingly frustrated by the answers we were giving, by what the law said, by how the system worked, and the limitations of my work to ultimately help these people, who often had a range of complex needs that the system was just not meeting. The criminal law felt like the end of a series of failures in a system. Over those 3 months, I realised I was drawn to bigger problems, to systems problems, and to finding solutions at a systems level, rather than at an individual level. And, well, I was watching a lot of West Wing at the time. Hopefully you know what that is. I take from the laughter that you do, or some of you do at least, and I'm not showing my age too much. I do still think of myself as young. So I decided to go to government and work in public policy. I took a grad role at Prime Minister and Cabinet, and then later on to the New South Wales Department of Justice, where ultimately I led strategic reform for the New South Wales criminal justice system. I'm now CEO of the New South Wales Bar Association, which combines a regulatory role with a representative role, working with some of the brightest minds in the country. My message for you from this is think about what kind of contribution you want to make and what you will enjoy. The beaten path may not be what you want. Think about it now, get experience of different options, and pick the work you will love. Now, it would be remiss of me not to put in a plug for the bar. For all you high achievers in this room, the bar should be at the top of your considerations. I chose to study law for its unending potential to challenge me intellectually. And if the intellectual challenge of the law is what you love, then the bar is a place for you. Beautiful is the flight of conceptual reason through the upper air of truth. To anyone in this room who may be unsure if they would fit in at the bar, can I say the bar is an increasingly diverse institution and is welcoming of all people, regardless of gender, ethnicity, sexual orientation, religion, or disability, as it must be. My advice to you all is don't be hemmed in by dogma, reflect on who you are and what work you will enjoy, and do that. My second story is about some advice I received in my first year of law school, sitting in the office of the then Dean of Sydney Law School, Professor Ron McCallum AO. He said to me, "Take responsibility for your education." This is the best advice I ever received. But let me give you some context. I was born in rural Queensland and grew up on a farm. I had an active extracurricular and academic life at school, but then unexpectedly, age 13, I began losing some vision. 3 months and a lot of tests later, I was told I had a rare condition which would take my sight. I would never lose all of it, but it would degenerate until I was legally blind. I currently have about 3% left. Despite this, at 18, I decided to leave home and come to the finest law school in Australia, by some miracle having gotten a place. And in my first term, I'd had some trouble getting some of my reading materials from the library and the Disability Services unit. Ron knew of my vision impairment and had agreed to meet me, and I decided to raise it with him to get his advice on how to handle it. I was expecting a sympathetic hearing. Take responsibility for your education. This was not exactly the message I thought I was going to get. It wasn't quite that blunt. Of course I should have supports. Of course things should be perfect. But if they weren't, it was me who suffered. My education was what suffered. And if I left my education in others' hands, I was doing myself a disservice. Put simply, and these are my words, not Ron's, I could complain about it, or I could take responsibility to ensure I had what I needed and I got the best education I could get. Put more broadly, it's your brain, it's your education. Don't rely on others to hand it all to you. Push yourself and find a way to get the best education you can for yourself, whatever it takes. I took this advice here at Sydney and again at Oxford. And can I tell you, on the BCL at Oxford, nobody is holding your hand. At Sydney, we had reading lists with paragraph references. We were actually provided with relevant extracts of cases in our course materials. We had open book exams. At Oxford, for each of the 4 subjects, It was 30 to 40 articles and cases a week, one essay per fortnight, with a 100% unseen closed book exam, writing 3 essays in 3 hours of a possible 8 questions, which could cover any of that reading material, times 4 subjects in 9 months. That's maybe 4,000 pages of reading a week, so upwards of 80,000 pages of material examined in closed book exams with unseen essay questions. Everyone on the course got first class honours at undergraduate law, and only a small fraction would do the same again. If you're looking to be stretched when you leave this fine institution, think about the BCL. This was obviously going to be especially difficult for me. Oxford has over 30 libraries, and the texts were all scattered throughout and rarely available digitally. I would have to find each of these myself, then scan them, run optical character recognition software to extract the text digitally, and listen to them with a robot voice which reads everything to me, which is how I study and work, and how I'm giving this speech to you right now. When I asked for help, I was told by the Disability Support Unit that if they located and scanned all the text for me, I'd get my text for the first week of first term 6 to 8 weeks later. So at the end of first term, I would be 32,000 pages behind at that point, and I would have failed all of my tutorial papers. This challenging degree was now bordering on impossible. Ron's advice, as it had before, came in handy. I went to my college and I asked for some final year law undergrad students who knew the libraries and who could help me find and scan everything. I could run my OCR and set about the task of listening to every word, as I can't skim read anything with my software. I studied at least 12 hours a day, sometimes 18 hours, every day for 9 months. The only other things I did was sleep, eat, and train for my ultimately unsuccessful bid to row for Australia at the London 2012 Paralympics. I learned more in that time than at any other time in my life. It was very hard work, but I'm so glad I did it. And I'm most proud of having left nothing in the tank, of having done everything I could to ensure I got the most out of that amazing educational opportunity. So tonight I pass on to you Ron's advice. Take responsibility for your education and get the most from it that you can. This advice applied to my disability, but it is universal. Your education is the foundation upon which whatever contribution you make in your career will be built. My final story takes us back to that first year of law school. From age 13 to 19, I had lost some of my sight, and high school was difficult, but nothing prepared me for the dramatic loss of vision that I had in my first year of law school, when my vision suddenly dropped below 10% and I became legally blind. It is difficult to explain in words how challenging this was. Even the most basic things, like making a cup of tea, like reading with your eyes, you can't do anymore, let alone study the law. I remember in those early months telling a friend I wasn't sure I could do it, that I might drop out. And I seriously considered this most days in my first year. People ask me now how I got through it. My answer is, when things get bad, it can feel like you're drowning in a sea of defeat. But amid all of those failures and all of those defeats, if you keep going, if you keep trying, eventually you will have one small victory. And then another, and another, and another after that. My advice on overcoming any great challenge is the accumulation of small victories. As Samuel Beckett wrote, ever tried, ever failed, no matter, try again, fail better. I went from thinking daily there was no way I could pass my way through a law degree to finishing with first class honours and even attending one of these prize ceremonies. Then, with the great gift of a Rhodes Scholarship, doing the same again at Oxford. There is nothing you cannot overcome with enough determination and the slow and steady accumulation of those small victories. The challenges of my disability have made me a stronger person, and coming through that, I have a deep well of resilience which I draw on every day. So if you find yourself in adversity, know that you too can overcome it. Try again, fail better. Accumulate those small victories and you will succeed. Losing most of my sight also gave me a profound appreciation for the opportunity I had to study, first here and then at Oxford, and I would encourage you to do the same. Treasure it, take everything you can from it, and go forth into the world with it as your foundation for everything you will achieve. Congratulations again, and all the best for the remainder of your studies and for your careers ahead. I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Well, as you can tell by the round of applause there, what an inspiring presentation. Andreas, thank you so much for sharing your experiences. The importance always, I think, of those conversations you have, sometimes as unexpected as they can be, with people who have a little bit more experience in life, whether it's in the nature of a formal mentoring relationship or a professional relationship, can be so incredibly important. And I think the story here reflects that. Those conversations can really be life-changing. So look, thank you so much. Now we move to the main event, and I'd like to welcome to the podium Associate Professor Penny Crossley. Penny is in a role that I think is extraordinarily important to the school, as well as being an energy and resources lawyer and teaching in a whole range of important areas of law, and will be well known to the students here. She's also the Director of Alumni Engagement, and honestly, it's a role we didn't have until Penny took it up, and to say it was she was made for it would be an understatement. I can honestly say we have elevated our engagement with our alumni in so many different ways. So I'd like just to take the opportunity to thank Penny for the amazing work she does in the role. But probably the most challenging one, after reading out all the names at graduation, which I did morning and afternoon earlier this week, is actually reading all the names of our prize winners, and that comes with the job of the Director of Alumni Engagement. So I will welcome Penny Crossley to the podium. Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us all here today. And I was reflecting on coming down here. This is one of our favourite occasions in the law school calendar, and you can tell that by the sheer volume of my colleagues who have given up their Friday night to make sure they're here to celebrate with our students and their families, because we know how much all of this means to everyone here. We know how hard you've worked, and we're very proud of you all. The other thing that I was reflecting on upon coming down here was that the law school has changed quite markedly since I was a student here. And I'm surprised Simon didn't mention it. He's very proud of this fact. But the law school is now the most diverse area of the university in terms of equity scholarships coming into our first year, and it's something we're immensely proud of, and we look forward to continuing. So amongst our prize winners tonight, not only do we have remarkable, remarkable students, but we also have students who have achieved much, often in circumstances that they might be first in family, they might have come from a non-traditional legal background. And for those of you who are in that category tonight, we're particularly proud of your achievements. So to move on with the awards, if I can please call up Simon and Andreas, who will present our awards tonight. Our first award winner is Juan Alcade Valedez, who won the University of Sydney Law School's Dean's Scholarship. So please join me in congratulating him. Our next winner is Thomas Ouchen, who won the Peter Patterson Prize. Noam Antonia, who won the Walter Reed Memorial Prize number 2 for contracts. Ramashri Bania, who won the Ashurst Prize in Australian Income Tax. Our next prize winner is Elizabeth Barber, who won the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. And we'll have a few of these prizes tonight. I just should be embarrassed. You'll hear a number of these. These are our students who have achieved outstanding results in each one of their subjects over the last 12 months. It is incredibly hard to do. So if the students are in this category, they are really our creme de la creme. So please join me in congratulating Elizabeth. Amanda Bingham, who won the Ross Waite Parsons Postgraduate Coursework Law Scholarship. Hannah Bolt won the Ross Waite Parsons Postgraduate Coursework Law Scholarship. David Caldwell, who won the George and Matilda Harris Scholarship Prize for the Master of Business Law. Renee Carter won the George and Matilda Harris Scholarship Prize for the Master of Taxation. We're very fortunate to have a donor for our next prize here tonight. We've got Dale Rayner from KWM, Kingwood Mallesons, and we thank you very much for donating this prize. We are incredibly grateful. Our next winner is Chire Chi, who won the Kingwood Mallesons Prize in Banking and Financial Instruments. The next winner is Timothy Collins, who won the Walter Reed Memorial Prize number 2 for Torts and Contracts 2 and the George and Matilda Harris Scholarship number 2B for third year of Combined Law. Maxwell Condi won the Walter Reed Memorial Prize number 2 for Private International Law A and was also on the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. Daniel Kordeski won the Ashurst Prize in Advanced Taxation Law and was also on the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. Genevieve Couvray won the Paul Byrne SC Memorial Prize for Advanced Criminal Law. Bayan Yufei Sai won the Walter Reed Memorial Prize number 2 for Equity and the John Geddes Prize for Equity. Gwendolyn Debaya won the Walter Reed Memorial Prize number 2 for Foundations of Law and the Walter Ernest Savage Prize for Foundations of Law. Josephine Dalsted won the Walter Reed Memorial Prize number 2 for Corporations Law and was also on the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. Emma Downham won the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. Seren Everingham won the Eric Constance Shaw Scholarship. Now, our next prize winner has been a little bit busy, so again, you'll have to bear with me. Campbell Fredericks won the Walter Reed Memorial Prize number 2 for Civil and Criminal Procedure, the Walter Reed Memorial Prize number 2 for Public Law, the Walter Reed Memorial Prize number 2 for Torts, and not surprisingly was on the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. Zakarina Gaitan won the University of Sydney Law School Dean's Scholarship. Esha Manish I apologise, also won the University of Sydney Law School Dean's Scholarship. Zachary Gomes won the Nancy Gordon Smith Memorial Prize for Honours at Graduation and was also on the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. Cindy Gu won the University of Sydney Law School Dean's Scholarship. Christopher Haddad won the Wigram Allen Scholarship for the Juris Doctor. Emily Hall won the Judge Samuel Redshaw Prize for Administrative Law. Chung Charles Howe won the Walter Reed Memorial Prize No. 2 for Public Law. Julian Heath won the Walter Reed Memorial Prize No. 2 for Introduction to Property and Commercial Law and was also on the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. Benjamin Hines won the Walter Reed Memorial Prize No. 2 for the legal profession, the Margaret Dalrymple Hay Prize for Law, Lawyers and Justice, and was on the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. Sheehan Ho won the Monaghan Prize for Evidence and the Walter Reed Memorial Prize No. 2 for Evidence. Now, Aoife Hogan has also been very busy. She won the Walter Reed Memorial Prize No. 2 for Private International Law A, the John George Daly Prize for No. 1B, the George and Matilda Harris Scholarship Prize for the Juris Doctor, the Ian Joy Prize in Law, and again, not surprisingly, was on the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. We're very fortunate tonight to have another group of donors with us, and this is for the Aaron Levine Prize in Criminal Law, and we've got Mrs. Agnes Levine and Judith Levine in the audience, so thank you very much. We really appreciate you being here. Our next winner, Dina Horwitz, has won both the Aaron Levine Prize for Criminal Law and also the Walter Reed Memorial Prize No. 2 for Criminal Law. Alexander Hoskinson won the Ashurst Prize in Australian Income Tax and was on the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. Stephanie Howes won the Victoria Golan Memorial Fund Scholarship. Daniel Hu won the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. Alexander Huang won the Bruce Banton McFarlane Prize. Shruti Janakiraman, again, has won a lot of prizes, so we need to, we might be here a while. She's won the Sir John Peter Memorial Prize for Proficiency in Foundations of Law, Federal Constitutional Law, International Law and Real Property. She won the Sir Dudley Williams Prize. She won the Nancy Gordon Smith Memorial Prize for Honours at Graduation. She won the Zoe Hall Memorial Scholarship and was on the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. Michael Jiang won the Roy Frederick Turner AM Scholarship. Benjamin John has won the Justice Peter Healy Scholarship. Connor Jordan has won the Walter Reed Memorial Prize No. 2 for the Introduction to Property and Commercial Law. Ambrose Krenitis has won the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. Paul Kwon is on the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. Vered C. Laranpui has won the University of Sydney Law School Dean's Scholarship. Samantha Leckie has won the Walter Reed Memorial Prize No. 2 for Administrative Law, the Pitt Cobbett Prize for Administrative Law, and was on the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. Nathan Leversley has won the Judge Pedriau Prize No. 1. Jacob Lerner is on the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. Vanessa Lee has won the Edward John Cully Prize for Proficiency in Real Property and Equity and was on the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. Sebastian Long has won the Walter Reed Memorial Prize No. 2 for Equity and the John Geddes Prize for Equity. Kate Lumsdane has won the Walter Reed Memorial Prize No. 2 for Private International Law A. Diane Law has also been a bit of an overachiever and has won the Gustav and Emma Bondi Postgraduate Prize, the Alan Bishop Scholarship, the Peter Cameron Sydney Oxford Scholarship, the John George Daly Prize No. 1A, and the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. Juliet Matthew has won the Walter Reed Memorial Prize No. 2 for Corporations Law. Alexander McManus has won the Walter Reed Memorial Prize No. 2 for Private International Law A. Eden James McSheffrey has won the Walter Reed Memorial Prize No. 2 for Administrative Law. Jessica Napolitano has won the Walter Reed Memorial Prize No. 2 for Foundations of Law. Mira O'Brien has won the Ashurst Prize in Environmental Law. We are again fortunate to have another one of our donors here tonight. We have Dr. Nicholas Hardwick, who has very generously given to the CA Hardwick Prize in Federal Constitutional Law, which along with the Walter Reed Prize No. 2 for Federal Constitutional Law has been won by Thomas O'Sullivan. Maria Paredes Azpilaga has won the Rosswaite Parsons Postgraduate Coursework Law Scholarship. Lachlan Pickering has won the Walter Reed Memorial Prize #2 for Private International Law A and the Harmers Workplace Lawyers Prize for Labour Law. Tina Pop has won the Ross Waite Parsons Postgraduate Coursework Law Scholarship. Brittany Potvin has won the University of Sydney Law School Dean's Scholarship. Akhil Prasad has won the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. Michael Punch has won the Walter Reed Memorial Prize #2 for Private International Law A and was also on the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. Louise Chan has won the Ross Waite Parsons Postgraduate Coursework Law Scholarship. Belinda Riley has won the Walter Reed Memorial Prize #2 for Real Property and the Margaret Ethel Peden Prize in Real Property. Our next prize is a new prize this year, and it was generously donated by the Natural Hazards Research Australia Centre, and we've got Dr. Supriya Gurung from there tonight, so thank you very much for joining us. And that has been won by Alina Rizvi, has won the Climate and Justice Disaster Law Prize. We're also very fortunate to have with us tonight Mikkel K. Wilding from Clayton Utes here to support the Andrew M. Clayton Memorial Prize, which has been won by Patrick Ryan, but Patrick Ryan has also won the E.D. Roper Memorial Prize #1 for Equity and Corporations Law, the George and Matilda Harris Scholarship #1 for second year, and was also on the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. Julia Saab has won the Alan Bishop Scholarship. Janelle Sayers has won the J.H. McClemens Memorial Prize #2 for Criminology. Isabel Schnicker has won the Walter Reed Memorial Prize #2 for Torts and Contracts 2. Tiger Shen has won the Walter Reed Memorial Prize #2 for Corporations Law. Anna Simpson has won the Walter Reed Memorial Prize #2 for Contracts. Caitlin Sinclair has won the David Stewart Hicks Scholarship. Aniket Sinha has won the Roy Frederick Turner AM Scholarship. Abby Stewart has won the Walter Reed Memorial Prize #2 for Real Property. Cody Swadling has won the Sybil Morrison Prize in Jurisprudence Part 2, the Thomas P. Flattery Prize for Roman Law, and was on the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. Jessica Syed was on the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. Peter Torian has won the Walter Reed Memorial Prize number 2 for Public Law and the Walter Reed Memorial Prize 2 for Torts and Contracts 2. Jasmine Todorowska has won the Walter Reed Memorial Prize number 2 for Private International Law A and the Rose Scott Prize for Proficiency at Graduation by a woman candidate and was on the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. Vivian Trong has won the Mr Justice Stanley Viertus Memorial Prize for Family Law. Theodore John Salakis has won the Wigram Allen Scholarship for the Juris Doctor. Connor Uche has won the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. Our next prize winner has again won quite a number of prizes, one of which has been very generously donated by the Law Society of New South Wales, and we thank Jennifer Ball, one of the Law Society counsellors who's here with us tonight. Claire Veal has won the Walter Reed Memorial Prize number 2 for Evidence, the Walter Reed Memorial Prize number 2 for the Legal Profession, the Law Society of New South Wales Prize for Law, Lawyers and Justice, the George and Matilda Harris Scholarship number 2A, and again, not surprisingly, was on the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. Ravi Prakash Vyas has won the WA Cook, Jane Cook and Alfred Godfrey Scholarship. Harriet Walker has won the Walter Reed Memorial Prize number 2 for Federal Constitutional Law and the Pitt Cobbett Prize for Federal Constitutional Law. Chui Wang has won the Christopher C. Hodgkiss Prize in Competition Law and was on the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. Charlie Ward has won the Nancy Gordon Smith Memorial Prize for Honours at Graduation. Christine White has won the Walter Reed Memorial Prize number 2 for Public International Law and the Pitt Cobbett Prize for Public International Law. Rebecca Wilcox has won the Walter Reed Memorial Prize number 2 for Torts and the Caroline Munro Gibbs Prize for Torts. Kenny Wu has won the University of Sydney Foundation Prize for Australian International Taxation. Jessica Jang has won the Fiona Gardner-Hill Prize in Corporate Law. We're again fortunate to have another donor with us tonight, and that's for the Playfair Prize in Migration Law. And we've got Joshua LeVay here with us tonight. Thank you, Joshua, on behalf of Petra Playfair from Playfair Legal. Jessica Jeng has won the Harmer's Workplace Lawyers Prize for Anti-Discrimination Law, the Playfair Prize in Migration Law, and was on the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. Bernice Dew has won the Ross Waite Parsons Postgraduate Coursework Law Scholarship. Kevin Zoe has also been a bit busy, and he has won the Walter Reed Memorial Prize No. 2 for the legal profession, the Margaret Dalrymple Hay Prize for Law, Lawyers and Justice, the E.D. Roper Memorial Prize No. 2 for Equity and Corporations Law, and he was also on the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. And last but not least, by any stretch of the imagination, we have Alexandra Zubrickas, who has won the Walter Reed Memorial Prize No. 2 for Contracts and the E.M. Mitchell Prize for Contracts. Now, one of the other things that we celebrate this evening, in addition to our amazing students, are also some of my amazing colleagues and their contribution to particularly the teaching and education activities within the law school. And it's my great pleasure tonight to announce that Louise Boone-Keogh has won an award for teaching excellence, where we acknowledge Louise is a particularly fine colleague, and she's made a huge contribution in embedding Indigenous knowledge into our curriculum and really enabling all of our students to have experience direct from First Nations perspectives throughout core units of study, and also very generously sharing with the rest of us how she has done that to inspire a number of us to look at our teaching and thinking about how we can change the way we teach. So Louise has won the award for teaching excellence. Unfortunately, she couldn't be here tonight, but please join me in thanking her. Our second winner of a teaching award goes to Dr. Cole Kirkby. Cole teaches into the undergraduate curriculum, and I just would like to read some of the citation that Cole was sent when he won. It says, "Thank you for your exemplary contribution to high quality legal education, and in particular your consultative and critically reflective approach to core curriculum unit coordination. The first year JD intensive is one of the most important units in the entire curriculum and requires an extremely demanding and challenging coordination role. Your achievement as an early career teacher in the school in coordinating this unit is impressive in the balance of your strong ambition and vision for educational improvement, along with your appreciation for the need for viable and incremental changes." So please join me in congratulating Cole. Now, the next two award winners are particularly special. The law school has been awarding a university medal since 1894. It is not awarded every year. It is awarded to the student who graduates at the top of their honours cohort, and it requires some quite extraordinary commitment to their legal studies throughout the degree. So if I can please announce, we have got Samuel Goldberg, who has won the R.G. Henderson Memorial Prize from the New South Wales Bar Association, and Andreas, we are eternally grateful. The Joy Prize in Law, the Nancy Gordon Smith Memorial Prize for Honours at graduation, the Zoe Hall Memorial Scholarship, and the David Levine Prize, thank you very much Levine family, in defamation law, and he was also on the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. He is along with, please join me in congratulating Sam, sorry. Nice and good. And we're very lucky this year that the medal, we've got a second medalist, and that is Ian Mersani, who won the R.G. Henderson Memorial Prize from the New South Wales Bar Association, the Joy Prize in Law, the Nancy Gordon Smith Memorial Prize for Honours at graduation, and again was on the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. And I want to congratulate them. They are respectively our 144th and our 145th university medalists in the law school's history. It's a very esteemed place. When you look down the list, you'll see a number of High Court judges. You'll see some people who ended up going to the Olympics. You'll see some premiers. No pressure, but we're hoping for great things. So congratulations. And with that, I'd actually like to call you up to deliver the address. So we'll begin with Samuel.
Nice to be able to give a speech before I go to the Olympics. To say goodbye. Good evening, Professor Bonnet, academics, donors, distinguished guests, friends and colleagues. I'd like to start by thanking the family of Justice David Levine, whose prize I was very excited to win. Thank you. I'd also like to congratulate everyone here tonight. It's a massive achievement to be here. I'd like to particularly congratulate Arian. Arian will be well known to many people here. He deservedly has a reputation as one of the law school's brightest sparks, and ever since I fell into his graduating cohort, I've been trying to keep up with him. So I'm very proud that our names are together on this award going forward. A further happy consequence of sharing this prize is that I only have to speak for half as long. And so I propose only to share a couple of memories from my first years at law school and then give some thank yous. I was somewhat naive when I started at law school. I'd only found out 2 weeks before uni started that there were exams at university. I thought we came here just for a love of learning and people just kind of trusted that you were in fact learning. I found out I was wrong when in my first semester, 2 weeks in, I went to the library quite early and found a tent set up in one of the study rooms with a person sleeping inside it. It was an augur for what was to come over the coming years. Unfortunately, my naivety persisted a bit throughout university. In my second year, I was fortunate to get a job with a barrister, and after a couple of weeks in that job, I was tasked with proofreading some written submissions. I noticed that many of the case names, as well as the names of some of the parties in the matter, included various combinations of the letters LTD and PTY LTD. I saw a very good opportunity to be useful, determined to save words and resolve what I saw as a glaring inconsistency in the use of those two phrases. I made all of them LTD. I hope the client was happy when they found out they'd become a public company. Thankfully, I have since done corporations law and all the other subjects offered by this exceptional faculty, and there's that exceptional faculty and team of staff that I'd like to begin by thanking. Last night, someone important to me said that law is like a board game, the rules of which once made sense, but have now spun completely out of control. I'm grateful to have been taught by some of the best board game academics in this world. I'd like to record my special gratitude to a few professors. Professor Barbara McDonald, who I'm very proud to have called my honours supervisor and is doing another cohort of students a great service of returning to teach TC2 one more time. Thank you. Chester Brown, who drove me home from online Vismoots at 2 a.m. and has since answered countless emails with the generosity which makes him universally loved amongst all Vismooters and quite a few students beyond that. And also Natalie Silver and David Rolfe, who have been two remarkable teachers, but also very understanding referees over the last couple of years. I'd also like to thank, obviously, the people that make law school worth it. Friends, too numerous to name, but they're through all 6 years, at least in my case. I'm particularly grateful to those who, like me, found the anxiety of stress in law school a bit too hard, and so took time out from their degrees to stay here for that extra year. I would also like to thank in particular Bella, with whom I spent countless hours in the library last year at our little desk near the window, but thankfully even more time outside of it. Finally, I'd like to thank my parents, Susie and Terry. Perhaps the thing I've learnt most over the last 6 years is how lucky I am in the 18 years before that. I've had endless support to do whatever I want from two of the kindest people I will ever meet. I fear that this award only confirms Mum's accurate perception that I'm a nerd, and she will redouble her efforts, which she started in high school, to make me study less by asking me every Saturday whether I had plans and why I was at home studying. Finally, a reflection. The first time I attended one of these ceremonies, I remember my sadness that I might not get to attend one again. 5 years later, I'm now firmly of the view that that sadness was misconceived. Law school is hard largely because the cohort is uniformly exceptional. As a result, most people's brimming intelligence and unfailing hard work goes unrewarded. It is an achievement to attend these ceremonies, but it's an even bigger achievement just to get to the end of the degree. And in many respects, winning a prize here tonight is a lottery. I am standing here because of the unique confluence of love, support, good health and education that I've enjoyed over the last 25 years, and I'll remain very grateful to everyone who's provided it to me. Thank you.
I don't envy you, Aaron. So I now call upon Aaron Maseni, who is our other medalist, to come up and give his address as well.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is a privilege to be able to congratulate you all on your achievements tonight as a fellow student. To win a prize at this institution is no mean feat. In an inflammatory introduction to his book on the law of powers, Professor Geraint Thomas decried what he called the inflationary pressures on law school marking. Now, anyone who's just received their mid-semester results for FedCon would immediately realise that this law school operates in a different macroeconomic context. But that's not always a bad thing. What is awarded in the end is not the bare ability to reason to a right conclusion, but the more enduring habit, I think, of always stopping to inquire why. And I think what's best taught at this law school is not just how to think, but how to think about ordinary things in a formal way. This I painfully realised when I found myself in first year, caught in the crossfire in a 2-hour tutorial debate in torts on whether sneezing on someone constitutes a battery. This interrogated at more length than desirable the subtle metaphysics of spittle. But as has been said by an American jurist with a liking for aphorism, the life of the law has not been logic, but experience. This is not to say that logic has no role to play at all, I think. Analogy and induction, syllogism and deduction, questions of necessity and sufficiency and causation all have a role to play in common law reasoning. But it is to say that the life of the common law, what gives it its vitality, is a practical ability, I think, to take a long view of things and to resist the temptation to impose what has been called a meretricious symmetry onto it. I remember once hearing in first year the following advice from a fifth year: just apply the legal rules. Don't bother with where they came from, just apply them. If there's anything I've learned over the past 5 years, it's that this was wrong. Legal principles in the common law aren't absolutes, but are contingent, always conditioned on their purpose or rationale. It was always for me a striking example of Justice Windier's historicism, an alum of this institution, when in the payroll tax case, he said that the decision in Engineers was not some revolutionary rupture or the radical uprooting of some antecedent heresy, but the reflection of changing conditions and of a post-war Australia that came to see itself as a nation. This is quite striking to me because, in other words, the rule itself was not attacked, but the reason for the rule ceasing, the rule itself ceases. It is this ability to make fine distinctions that fixes in the mind of the student judgments particularly of Windier and of Dixon throughout these 5 years. And it's this feature of the common law, a system of reasoning that has always one eye to its origins, that gives to it a tendency to change and yet to remain the same. Now, mooting gives to students of this law school an opportunity to reflect on what they have learned in a more in-depth way than perhaps an essay or a problem question can give. For example, when I once witnessed a federal court judge in a moot accidentally crush a plastic cup of water with her bare hands, a student couldn't ask for a better lesson in judicial power. And I certainly will never forget my failings when I first convened a moot and was given the simple task of knocking the judges into the moot court. It was at this point that I realised that our moot court locks from the inside when the door's shut. Now, while waiting for help with 3 Supreme Court judges, I thought it was worth pointing out that the topic of the moot that night was negligent false imprisonment. They were not amused. Most importantly, I'd like to thank the people that have made this experience possible. Barbara McDonald, who was not only a thorough teacher, but had a good-natured readiness to assist all students that stood out. Professors Conneglan and Glister, who brought equity to life with judicial gossip, hot takes, and an ability to dispatch heresies with the glisten of an eye and the flick of a wrist. Emily Hammond and Jason Harris, for their encyclopedic knowledge of admin law and corporations law, respectively. Professor Gummo, who's had a long and distinguished association with this law school, and from whom we've had the privilege of learning something of a mastery of common law technique. Jeff Gordon, my honours supervisor, who endured my many stupid questions throughout the last semester. Sam Goldberg, of course, with whom I'm honoured to share this privilege, and my family, who have endured many exam seasons. To all these people and more, I owe not just a great debt, but probably also damages. Whether that be damages for nervous shock or for disappointment and distress is perhaps a matter that only time can tell. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Sam. Thank you, Aaron. I have to say, they may share the medal, but in fact there are two medals, so you don't have to chop them in half. And we're very honoured to be placing you on that tally of most amazing graduates of this important law school. Look, we're at the end. It's just my responsibility now to close. I want to say something about the nature of prize giving. As I say, I know people don't tend to look at what's said in the front of these brochures, but as I say, you know, prize giving is a celebration of not only excellence or merit. It also says something about the community and sends important messages about what's important, and also the need to continue to support students. There's no doubt, as most of you studying, you are balancing so many things. To be able to be resourced with scholarships and with prizes that have been gifted over many generations really has enabled our students sometimes at critical points. And the last few years have been really tough. I mean, particularly around the COVID period. And so we've been very attentive to making sure that all our scholarships, all our philanthropy is used to support our students in many ways, not just as a signifier of academic excellence, but also opportunity. So I think what I'm trying to emphasize is the importance of paying it forward. And I'm speaking now to the next generation of brilliant lawyers. And some of you will not go on to legal careers. You may choose to do other things, make lots and lots of money, or bring about world peace, or solve, you know, the climate catastrophe. Whatever you do, don't forget your law school. And on the back of the brochure, I've drawn it to your attention. A couple of important scholarship opportunities there to support. You know, it starts, and it should start early, that generosity. And if you can't give money, give your time to others that need help. I think it's the generosity of spirit as much as what you can give financially to support these amazing scholarships. And you know, we honour here not only amazing colleagues like Ross Anderson, who retired recently and has influenced a whole generation of students in this law school and in the law extension program, but also Ada Evans, who was the first LLB graduate in Australia. She qualified in 1903, I think, and sought admission to the bar, but was refused admission for many, many, many years. And because under the definition of a person, it was held that that couldn't have included a female. It took a First World War and a General Act of Parliament to change the definition that person meant man and woman. It's quite an extraordinary story of blatant discrimination. We honour her, and through that scholarship we seek to continue not only supporting women in legal education, and I should say that there are now more women in Sydney Law School studying law, and has been for many years, and well represented obviously in the prize winning. But we also want to ensure that we, as Penny indicated, ensure that we support students from more diverse backgrounds. So in terms of thank you donors, thank you those donors to be when you go out to drink and eat and celebrate with your awardees. I would like to thank colleagues, not only again to thank Andre for an amazing and inspiring, Andreas, thanking him for an inspiring speech. It was interesting, quite a few of the students that came up acknowledged how inspiring they felt the speech was, and I second that. I think it's important to acknowledge the logistical side of the evening, and to thank, where is she, Carla Viola. Ashley Joe, where's Ashley? She's probably hiding. There she is, right at the back. Salvatore is somewhere, I think, there, newest member of our team. Penny, well, amazing master of ceremony. And Peter Finneran, who I have to say, just our school manager, but also in charge of our external engagement and philanthropy. So many of you owe Peter a debt in relation to your scholarships, because you have to sometimes chase the donors to ensure that we have the scholarships to present to you tonight. And I have to say, we are so appreciative of the work that's done to ensure that all of those funds are there to support our amazing students. So thank you, Peter. Well, I think you've earned your treat now of drinks and canapes in the foyer outside. I would just ask the prize winners to remain with the donors. So we're going to take some photos here, as is customary. There will be an opportunity, obviously, for photos with the family out in the foyer. But if the prize winners can remain, and please enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you.